Mr Deputy Speaker, and it's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Lady, the member for Liverpool Riverside, for whom I have the greatest respect. I rise to welcome the Secretary of State's announcement this afternoon, his speech this afternoon, setting out that the core spending power of our councils will be increasing by 2.8%, an increase in real terms to £46.6 billion to spend on services for our local residents. And I know that councillors, officers and their staff will very much appreciate his remarks about how they have worked together to provide value for money for their residents over recent years. And I rise to welcome the two key principles behind the government's approach. Firstly being that of encouraging growth by providing housing and providing business premises, which of course enables people to have the jobs, and that is used to provide the funding to respond to the needs of local residents. And I hope to demonstrate to the Parliamentary and the Secretary of State, who will be visiting Rugby later this week, that he'll be able to demonstrate that that council has done a brilliant job, in contrast to my honourable friend and neighbour, the member for Nuneaton, where the council have been less effective. But I really want to focus my remarks on district councils, Mr Deputy Speaker. I am the chairman of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for District Councils, which in July of this year produced a report into district councils' finances. And district councils provide 86 of the 137 essential local services in two-tier areas and cover 40% of our population and 60% of the country by area. And in the evidence that we received from 60 councils who sat before us in a select committee type inquiry, there was real concern that a majority of district councils would stop receiving rate support grant by this current year. And we're delighted that the Minister and the Secretary of State have recognised the concerns of negative rate support grant, where there was worries that councils would give back to Treasury more than they would receive from the Ministry of Housing and Local Government. And it's very reassuring to district councils across the country that that will not now happen. And Secretary of State, we are grateful to you for that. And the second ask that was contained in our report was that there should be no further changes to the new homes bonus baseline rate. That's been, I think, a great success of our party in government, that the new homes bonus has encouraged local authorities to providing new housing, which gives funding for the infrastructure, and also to compensate communities for the disruption that occurs when development takes place. And very pleased that the Secretary of State has acknowledged and recognised that. In fact, and has kept the base as it is. And in fact, there is a strong case of a removal of the 0.4% that councils are expected to do anyway. It's important to recognise that district councils' housing completions have increased 45% since the introduction of the new homes bonus. Now, there are a couple of other asks within our report, and one that's been already a matter of discussion in today's debate, and that's a recognition of the role of local councils in prevention. The district councils are the housing and planning authority, which are services that are very critical to the health of a community by providing leisure and recreation facilities. The local authorities provide home adaptations, and the local authorities tackle homelessness. And I'm delighted that my local authority, Rugby, is allocated an increased budget to that work and is working tremendously closely with a charity hoped for in dealing with the issue that was again referred to by my honourable friend. And the local authorities that I've heard from want to see additional freedoms and incentives in the way that they may go about raising revenue. But I do want to enter a word of caution here. I've heard of too many local authorities that are turning themselves into property investors and property companies, often outbidding more commercially based organisations in the private sector, where there is, and I'm worried about the level of expertise that exists. And whilst it's entirely right that a local authority would want to invest in its own community, I'm worried that sometimes they are not being sufficiently hard-headed. The business rate retention is a perfectly sensible way things have gone. I ran a small business in Rugby between 1982 and 2008. I'd always believed that what I was paying in business rate was going into my local community, and for much of that time, of course, it wasn't. And when I learnt that, my question was, what incentive is there for a local authority to do the right thing for growth and attract businesses? We've turned that around, and we have that. I'm very disappointed, along with my colleague member for Nuneaton, that Warwickshire wasn't selected as one of the pilots, and I very much look forward to Warwickshire putting in a strong bid to retain that. We have a strong settlement today. This is a step in the right direction. There is, of course, much more that we can always do, and I look forward to the Minister responding to the various points that have been raised in today's debate.
We're now having to go down to 5 minutes. Chris Matheson.